Hey, Julia Barzyk here from Wise Investigator. I'm going to talk to you today about 3 very important things to keep in mind if you're considering submission for a Department of Defense MURI topic. So these just came out today, and you can learn about this opportunity through the announcement. The bottom line, $7.5 million over 5 years. These are for interdisciplinary team-based efforts. So what's important to keep in mind here if you want to have a strong white paper and a strong proposal? The key thing to keep in mind about the MURI program is that these topics are supposed to be ones that cannot be achieved. Okay, the research that's outlined in the topic cannot be achieved by single disciplines or single PIs alone. So when you're writing, before you're even writing the white paper, when you're thinking about putting your team together, when you're writing the white paper, and then of course when you're writing the proposal, something that should be going through your mind through every step of the process. In every paragraph you write, you should be saying, is there an opportunity here for me to express how important it is that we work together, exactly what technical piece is going to come from which of the many disciplines that are going to be represented on your team, and state that explicitly and explain that. So again, for every stage of the process, from thinking about the ideas, putting the team together, and every document and correspondence that you draft, you should have that as your top of mind. Because when people internally create these topics, they come up with the topics. One of the things, and I did this, I authored a number of different MURI topics over the years when I was a program manager with Department of Defense. One of the most important things that they need to justify when they compete these topics internally is that the research actually requires this type of effort. Otherwise, you could piece together single investigator awards and get the work done that way. That's not what MURI is supposed to be about. Okay, so when you think about putting your team together, related to this point number 1, because the point number 1 is the most important, think about who actually is best suited technically to be on your team, period. Don't think about the big names. Well, it's going to look really good if we add this person because they're a really big name. If they are a big name and they also are the right person technically to work with you on the team, then include them. Then they'd be the right person to include. But just pulling in big names is just because they're big names is not going to help you. If anything, that can backfire because evaluators could think, wow, I really wonder if this person has the time to commit to this effort because we know they're a big name, we know they're globetrotters, and how much of this are they actually going to be able to do themselves? How much can they actually contribute? So this just should make it easy for you. Think about who are the right people for you to be working with, and period, just go with those people. Okay, now, when you are going to ask for something like $7.5 million, everything that you submit in terms of the white paper and then of course the proposal should be polished and should be edited. So this is not the kind of opportunity where you want to not use good time management. So even for the white paper, and then of course if you're invited to submit a proposal, you would want to make sure that this document is going through a couple rounds of editing, ideally with a professional editor, so that you could put your best foot forward and indicate to the reviewers that you are a careful person who understands the time that it takes to get things done, like even the time it takes to put together a white paper where you have multiple people contributing and get that turned around and submitted. So when you show that you can manage something as simple as getting a document in, then that also just gives confidence to evaluators that, oh yeah, you can probably also manage a team and manage the minutiae that go along with the collaboration and the extra paperwork and extra documentation, all that kind of stuff, more administrative responsibilities that go with the larger effort. And also it sends a message that you're going to be very careful in your research. So when you're asking for that much money, evaluators are going to be less forgiving of those typos, those mistakes, those missing captions on figures or incorrect mismatched captions and figure, all that kind of stuff that you may get away with in a more informal white paper process when you're asking for a smaller amount of money and someone just says, hey, just send me your idea. Okay, just write that in an email. That's fine. It's okay if there's some mistakes in there. No problem. You're getting to the core of the idea, and that's what you want to talk about. For MURI, nothing like that should be associated with MURI. Everything should be very well put together with time. Okay, so the biggest fear that people on the inside there have about what could go wrong with MURI. So this is something you want to keep in mind too, because you're going to be able to assure them that this is not going to happen. Now, this is something that you're going to want to have. You're going to have more space to assure them of this in a full proposal if you're submitting than you do in a white paper, but keep this in mind from the outset. The biggest fear for a lot of collaborative type efforts is that each PI is going to separate. They're going to be at institutions, US institutions all over the country, and they're each going to go and they're going to do their own work. And right before the review, which might happen 2 to 3 years in, there could be other reviews. Well, probably there'll be an annual review actually, and then there'll be a big review later. But they're going to get together right before then and say, what did you do? What did I do? Okay, how are we going to put this together and make it look like a cohesive effort or coordinated effort, right? So give them that assurance by explaining every chance you get how you are actually going to manage the project so that you are using the information learned from one PI is going to use that to inform what they're doing with their models, and those are going to inform the experiments, and the results of the experiments are going to inform the models, and that's iterative, and there's a lot of coordination that's going on there throughout the duration. So put their minds at ease. Don't let them carry on with that fear that you're all going to just take the money, split the money up and go separate ways. Okay, so final advice: if you are intrigued by one of the topics, if you feel, or more maybe, if you feel that you could put something together, then go ahead and do that, because the white papers that you submit for this, they're going to be very carefully collected. They're going to be evaluated most definitely by multiple people, and they're going to give each one of those careful consideration. So even if you're thinking, wow, I'm a junior person, I'm not really sure that I would be ready to lead a MURI effort, then you're not at the stage where you're writing the full proposal yet. So go ahead and put that white paper in and get your ideas in front of people, because even if that white paper is not selected for one of the full proposal submissions, it's definitely possible that some ideas you put in there could capture the attention of one of the evaluators, the program officer. Maybe they'll reach out to you and say, hey, I like that idea, I want to talk to you about that. So final thought with that though is, like going back to what I said before, if you can't put something together that's of a decent quality, then, or to not just decent quality, but to a high quality is what we want to aim for, then just hold off on that, because like I said, these will be evaluated by a number of different people, and you don't want to make that bad impression by sending something in that's sloppy. However, if you can get something together and give it that little bit of polish that it needs, then I would encourage you to do so. So let me know your questions about MURI, and I'll see what I can do to answer them.